Good to see everybody here. So it's another Sunday night, and we're here to talk knives. So, hey Neil McKenzie, what's going on? Kelly White, hello there. Into the Void, Ground Fog. Glad to see you guys are here. So we're gonna do some more unboxings tonight, and just talk, the usual knife and EDC kind of stuff. So there's that. I have a new video that's going to be debuting tomorrow, which is kind of exciting. Eagle Shot EDC, what's up, buddy? Tomorrow is going to be the Free Tiger, which I showed off on the live last week, is going to be the full unboxing and review video for this. El Cap Addict, how are you, buddy? So that I'm pretty excited about that because this is a sponsored video. They sent this knife to me, so I'm hoping they like the video. I'm hoping you guys like the video. It's exciting because I broke the 1,000 subscriber mark, and now all of a sudden companies want to work with me, and I'm kind of happy about that. It's been really cool. I'm working currently with 7 companies that I've already received stuff from, and I have 2 more companies on the way. So, and I don't want to say who they are until I get them, and then I had another company, which I will mention, which is Concept Knives. They didn't want to do a collaboration, but they did offer me a 30% off coupon because I'm a YouTuber. So basically what they had told me was that because I'm newer, they want to give me the 30% off coupon, put something up, and they want to see how well it does before they commit to collaborating fully. So I thought that was kind of cool of them. And I get it, absolutely. They want to know that they're going to get something for their money, basically. Not that they're paying me with, but, that they give me a knife. They want to know what they're getting. So, can you guys hear me okay? I'm using a new microphone, and I just want to know that everybody can hear me. Somebody let me know. Mick Ranger, what's up, buddy? Davo from El Paso, how are you? So again, it's all good. Thanks, Mick. Just want to know that the mic's working because, like I said, I'm using a new mic. I only used it for the first time the other day while filming some videos, and it worked pretty well, but I haven't used it on live yet. So hope it sounds okay. Good. That's what I needed to know because I changed up. I wound up getting a brand new iPhone 16 Pro, which I upgraded from my iPhone 13 finally. And I noticed the video is much better, and so far the sound I noticed when recording is better as well. So, which is really kind of cool. So what's everybody up to tonight? Obviously, you're all hanging out here, and I appreciate that. There's 18 of you, 6 likes so far. If you guys could smash the like, it would be really helpful. Oh, LCAP, what did you hear? What did you win today? I know Robert Sterling. Hello there. I'm not a creeper, dude. But so I know Kelly White won 2 of the drawings on Legion Steels. What did you win, LCAP? And where did you win it? I missed it. Totally missed it. I won last night on what was it, Friday? Friday, I won one of Tactical Llamas giveaways. Oh, you won the giveaway from Ken Faulkner. Oh, I didn't realize he was live. I missed that. Love Ken. He does some good stuff. He's a good guy too. So, oh, Robert Sterling, you might need to go. There we go. Shark VR, hello there. How are you doing? So, again, what's everybody been doing today? I mean, everybody have a good weekend? I know my weekend was pretty eventful. I wound up selling 2 guitars today. So I got my collection now. I sold 12 guitars recently. So I got down from 48 to 36. I had to, Cookie King, hello there. I had to start getting rid of guitars. I have just way too many. And next week, that's going to be, talk about something that's going to be exciting. Next week, I'm actually going to move the live stream into my studio. So I did a lot of work on the studio to get it ready for that. Didn't feel like going in there today because this setup's kind of comfortable. And next week we're going to be doing it totally different. And you guys, I'm going to actually try and take you around and show you the guitar collection and show you the amp collection. Shark VR, do I have one that I can show? I actually have one right here. Hold on. I'll get one. So, this is a Fender Jaguar of mine that I absolutely love. And under this lighting, it doesn't look the actual color that it is. This is a bright orange. They call it a Capri orange, and it's just a fantastic guitar. This is one that I use when I play surf rock, which, you know, I play surf rock a lot. I'm mainly a heavy metal, hardcore punk player, but I grew up listening to a lot of surf, 60s surf music. So I love to play that as well. Get that out of the way. Sorry. And so we've got a bunch of people here. Let's kind of show you what I've got on the desk in front of me. So before we get to the unboxing of some new stuff that came in. So today I was carrying this knife. This is from 704 Tactical. This is the Wildcat. This is a big chunker of a knife. I got this one when it was on sale. They usually, I think, like $31 or something like that. I think I got it on sale when it was $24. It's a big knife. I mean, this is a big, beefy knife, and I like it a lot. So this is now the third 704 Tactical knife that I have. The G10 is really nice. They make a really good knife at a great price. I really like what they're doing over there. This is another one that I had by them. This is the Blitz. This is kind of a medium size, really nice for EDC. Bird Dog, hello there. Welcome to the chat. So this is really nice by them. And these regularly go on sale. They usually usually like $24.99. You can generally get them for around $20 because they put them on this model. They put on sale a lot, and it's just a nice looking, really nice looking knife that I really like. What up, Shay? Welcome in. Appreciate you being here, buddy. So, and then this is the last one that I have by them. This is a smaller knife by them. This is the Scout Light. And I like this one. It's, like I said, it's a little smaller than this one. If you put them up against each other, the Blitz is a little bit bigger. And of course, the Wildcat's even bigger than that. So the Wildcat's really a full-size knife. But if you're in a place where you can't have a knife over 3 inches, the Midnight Scout Light, the Midnight Scout Light is really great because it just comes under that 3-inch point. So it makes it legal in a lot of places where you're required to have under 3 inches. So, Mick, what are you guys carrying today, by the way? Just curious. Because I've been doing some new videos. You guys know I basically 5 to 6 days a week I post a 60-second carry video to show what knife I'm carrying. But this week I did 2 of them where I actually showed my whole loadout for the day, my whole EDC loadout that had, my flashlights, pry bar, the whole works. So, but Shay, how do you like the Flytanium beef? I have had my eye on that knife. Actually, I've had it in the cart a couple of times and just didn't pull the trigger on it. In fact, it's in my cart right now, and they just emailed me, a reminder that it's in my cart. We think you forgot something. Because that's the way all these companies work now. You put something in the cart, or if you save it. Cash Kelly, hello there. Sophie Smith, hello. Welcome to the chat. I'm looking at somebody else here. Sencut Crowley, nice. ZBS. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. we're just going to call you ZS, okay? Because, you know, with the symbols in there, it's kind of hard. But yeah, the Zen Crowley, natural G10, nice, very nice. LCAP, the Spyderco Stretch 2. I don't know that one from Spyderco. I have to check that out. The Photonics, nice, Dave. That's a really nice knife. Nice. So Kelly, now you're going to have two Asgears. So the one you won today was the silver, correct? Does that mean you already have the black? Because I have the black Asgear coming my way. You know, yes and yes. Okay, cool, cool. It's weird because I noticed more people entered the giveaway for the silver one on Legion Steel's giveaway, but really, the Para 3 had sloppy jimping. Huh. Usually you get really good quality from them. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you know what's weird, Mick? I don't understand why they don't sell it as a completed knife with the S90V option, as opposed to just selling the replaceable blade. You know, I would rather just do it that way. Buy it with the better steel right out the bat. Although the one thing with Flytanium is they give you that unquestioned warranty. So if you break the blade, they're just going to replace it. You know, so do you really need the S90V? But good catch, LCAP. Thank you, Soa. The Z Farm. Okay. I missed that one. That went right. Gotcha. Yeah, I guess it is an awesome upgrade, Mick. Like I said, with them having that warranty with unquestioned warranty, if you break that blade, they're gonna replace it. So the only thing I can think of is that you're gonna get, better edge retention. So what we're doing is talking knives. So earlier this week, I carried my Lander 2, which is one of my favorite knives. This is heavy in the rotation, you know. I also carried this one that I put back in the pouch. And this was the one from New Knives. This was their Kickstarter that I had backed way back. I don't know, it was probably like 6-7 months ago. And this arrived last week, and I really like this. This is New Knives. And I forget what the Commandant, I think it's called. And really nice little EDC knife, But I carried this one earlier. I carried a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, I switch my knife out pretty much every day. Wow, that's going to make that an awesome knife, Mick. The arcade really looks good. But there comes a point of I can't own every knife as much as I'd love to. I keep saying if I hit the Powerball, win the lottery, I will own every knife that I want. But right now, we're not there. Sorry, Zed. People know me from the lighting. Although I think when I move to the studio, that's going to change. So, yeah, I'm going to change that out, I think. So let's look at some of the other stuff that I have around. So, anybody see one of these? This is the Doug Ritter RSK MK5. It's a little neck knife. They ship it to you in this tin. And they actually give you instructions on how to set this up as a survival tin, which is kind of cool. Shay, you'll see a lot of it next week. So what's in here is this little fixie. This is the Doug Ritter, and this is a tiny little thing. It's a little neck knife, but it's a nice design. And comes with the chain, comes with the ball chain. It fits right in the sheath really well. It's not, I don't think it's a Kydex sheath. I think it's just a plastic or a nylon sheath. And it comes with, you know, the normal ball chain. But it's a great little neck knife because it's so small. You can throw it under your shirt. No one will know you have it. And if you need it, a little EDC knife, it's there. And it's a solid blade. I mean, this is really nice. You know, this is probably the least expensive thing that Doug Ritter makes. But really like it. You know, people control. Ligma. Okay. No, you don't need to be here then. No, you know what? Okay. So next thing we got was this. This is a knife from Grandway. Grandway makes mostly gas station type knives, but they make some decent knives too, but you know, they're all like value priced, low quality steels. But this one came in, and this is a karambit from them. And it's actually nice. It's spring assisted. You know, it's got a really nice blade, some great jimping on it. And, you know, it's just kind of cool. The blade is, it's not that bad. It's a 440C, so obviously it's not a super steel, but it's not a bad steel either. Remember, there was a time when 440 was, where 440 was a super steel. Obviously not anymore, but it's really got some nice action to it, and it is sharp. I was looking at it earlier, but this just came in. You know, and this one comes in. This is usually they're like $20 or so, but right now I think they're on sale during the Amazon Super Spring Sale, and these are like $9.99. So not bad, not bad at all. If you like karambits. No problem, Dave. I appreciate you stopping by. Absolutely. You know, so if you like karambits, or if you just want to experiment with one, definitely one to try out. You know, and I have not really, you know, played with a karambit all that much. In fact, this is the first one I've ever gotten, and I kind of got it just to see if I like it, you know. But for $10, not bad. And then the next one, somebody sent to me, and this one, I won't say who sent it. It's another YouTuber that you guys all know, but they kind of sent this. Kind of like a, I don't want to say it's a goof, but it was like, hey, look at this thing. And what this is a copy of a Demco AD20. It's a clone, but they didn't put any branding on it, so it's not, you know, it's not that, you know, blatant of a ripoff. I mean, it's a blatant ripoff, but they're at least not putting Demco's name. They're not trying to fool anybody. It does pop out of there really nice. And yeah, the lockup's really good on that. What I noticed though is these studs are not screwed in all the way. They're really loose. Check that out. But, and it's got your shark lock. Seems to work pretty well. It's got this really, it's got this bright green G10 handle. You know, I think I'll start doing the horizontals when I hit into the studio. But if you were looking to feel what a Demco knife kind of feels like, at least like feeling the hand, you know, this is obviously not the quality of a Demco. This is an 8CR steel blade, so it's not a high quality blade. But I appreciate that. I appreciate you subbing, and thank you. Gail Delgado, hello there. But for a cheap clone, it's not that bad. And I don't really condone clones. But like I said, this one was sent to me for somebody just to try it. They're like, you got to check this out. It's a cheap copy of a Demco. And it's not bad. This actually may lead me to buying a Demco because I don't have one currently. But I mean, if this one feels this good, I mean, really, that you got really nice jimping on top. Even if you put your finger on the shark lock, it holds it really nice in place. And you got the finger choil here. So I may actually wind up getting an authentic Demco because of this, because I like the way this feels and I like the way it looks. So, and this one will be fun to play with. And this one, beside the thumb studs, you can easily deploy it using the thumb hole. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of? Yeah, Mick, there are some amazing clones out there, you know. But I'm just glad they didn't put the Demco name on this because I've seen on like Temu and I've seen it on AliExpress where they've had the same one where it actually says Demco in the pivot and has the you know, the branding. And yeah, I wouldn't want that, you know. I think one day I might have to do a video about the different clones that I do have because I have some. Oh yeah, Mick, my Benchmade bug out clone. I put that next to my real bug outs, and I literally can't tell the difference. You know, if you don't really examine it like really close up and notice that, you know, the Benchmade logo is slightly in the wrong place, but I mean it's by like a millimeter. You have to really be looking at it. You know. Yeah. Well, Douglas, like I said, this is a clone. It's a cheap copy of the real knife, and from what I can tell, I saw it on Amazon. It only comes in this green. Like I said, this was sent to me by another YouTuber who I'm friends with, and they were like, "You got to check it out." Help with gadgets. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. So again, this is like I said, a clone of the AD20 by Demco. And for a clone, it's not badly done. So, like I said, it's going to make me want to buy a real one. You know. You got to be careful, Mick, because like if you're looking at like a Benchmade, the clone scales don't work on an actual Benchmade because it's slightly different on the inside, and they won't work, which is why you can't like you can't go out and buy a set of like nice Flytanium, you know, scales and put it on a Benchmade clone because they actually don't fit because the inside's different. So that's where you notice the difference when you take them apart. Dirtbag Dustin, I absolutely I see that. You know, I look at, man, even some of the Chinese made knives, you can find bootlegs of them coming from Temu and you know and AliExpress. And why would you buy a bootleg of one of the Chinese knives when they're mostly affordable to begin with? So why not get the real thing? Order it, you know, directly from the vendor. Yep. Yep. I've never actually had a clone of a Spyderco in person, so I've never actually seen one if they're decent or not. You know, I have 3 Spydercos, 4 Spydercos, and they're all real. You know, well, you know what's funny? I am a Jets fan. Yes, sorry. I'm a Jets and 49ers fan, so this was really a rough year for me. But yes, no, I'm a long suffering because whenever you say Jets fan, you have to put long suffering in front. It's just the way it is, you know. But yeah, and my wife's a Broncos fan, so hey man, the Lions after being down for how many decades, they really have turned it on. They were really great this year. I was surprised they got knocked out of the playoffs. I really thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl, but numbers of data is made. Okay, I got it, Mick. I didn't know that. That's good to know. But Yeah, it's tough being a Jets fan. It really is. You know, and yeah, no, that had to hurt. B, definitely. I have a lot of friends. Being here in New Jersey, I have a lot of friends who are Giants fans, and yep, Mick, you don't have a reason to feel for Jet fans anymore because your team is just as bad, and your organization is probably even worse than the Jets at this point. I hate to say it, and which is really sad because Giants, you know, after being bad for so long, and then in the 80s and 90s, the Giants were so good, and even the early 2000s, and now they've reverted back to being a dog poop franchise, which is a shame because that's the thing. Like, there are teams in sports that I hate, that are rivals. Like, all right, I'm a Mets fan, and I absolutely hate the New York Yankees. I am an Islanders fan. I'm sorry, Mick, and I hate the New York Rangers. I know they're your team, and you're going to make the playoffs, and my team's going to shit the bed again for the first time in a few years. But I don't hate the Giants. I never have. Like, I can watch the Giants and root for them as long as they're not playing the 49ers or the Jets. So it's like one of those things. I don't hate the Giants, so I don't mind when they do well. But I hope Aaron Glenn brings it because he was a great player for us, and I know he's been a great assistant. Well, at this point, with the Islanders losing the last 3 games, you've got a better shot the Rangers making it than the Islanders do at this point. You know, the Islanders, they blew one today. I mean, they couldn't stop. They couldn't stop the puck from going in the net. They lost 6-4, I think. So a high scoring game. I mean, geez, they scored more. They had more goals than the Mets had runs the last game. But no, 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 Mick. The Jets have won a Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl three. So don't say they haven't won a Super Bowl. They have. And in fact, they won the game that was considered the most important game in NFL history when the AFL beat the NFL. So Brian White, Brian, I don't mind the Canadians at all. In fact, I have a Canadians jersey. I have a Patrick Roy jersey, who's now my coach. Yes, with Broadway Joe Namath, or as he used to be, Willie White Shoes, the first quarterback in history to wear white shoes. If you didn't know, so. But yes, it was a long time ago. In fact, I wasn't even born then. But I still know we won the Super Bowl. Unlike one of my really good friends who is a Vikings fan, and I show him a picture of an empty IKEA cabinet all the time, and I'm like, you know what that is? That's the Vikings Super Bowl trophy cabinet. Pisses him off big time. I don't know. Are you guys the same as I am? Like, I don't like. I root against all my friends who have different favorite teams. I root against their teams just because I like to see them suffer a bit. You know, Shay, you're not far off from winning a Super Bowl. You know, you're not that far off. And I think this year we're going to see a little bit of a yeah, yeah. I see that. I see that, Mick. But I just have trouble rooting for either the Yankees or the Rangers. You know, I don't mind rooting for the Nets. I'm a Knicks and Lakers fan, but it's always been that way. I root for basically 2 teams in every sport, so one in each conference. Yeah, Mick, I totally get it. If you're a Rangers fan, you can't root for the Islanders. I got it. But I will say one thing: in my lifetime, I saw the Islanders win 4 consecutive Stanley Cups, and also set the record for most consecutive playoff series won. So, which they still hold that record, by the way. Just want to mention that. And I watched the Islanders go to five straight Stanley Cups. So that's something you as a Ranger fan will never see. You know. But yeah, I am glad though that Lou Lamoriello has decided to kind of dismantle the team this summer. So it's going to be a fresh start. Oh, the Red Wings in the 90s. Come on. Yzerman is one of my favorite players of all time. Guy's great. He was just he played he played at the wrong tier. Hey Neil, what's up? I don't mind. I don't mind the VJ Paul. Thank you. It's one of my Smoky Mountain Knives hats. You know, I don't mind the Devils. In fact, when the Devils first moved here from Colorado, I rooted for them as a secondary team. It wasn't until they started to get good that I really considered them the competition as opposed to the little brother in town, sort of thing. But so let's look at some other knives that we have. These all got to me from Rosecraft. I'm part of the pass around group with them. And what do we have here? I can't see what we have here because it's too dark. Okay, this is the Tanasi Lake Teardrop. Let's check it out. This is the first time I'm actually looking at this. And as always, Rosecraft sends their stuff in butcher's paper. Oh, look at that. That is pretty. Look at that color. If only Marissa was here from Legion Steel, she'd be in love with this knife. We know her love of teal. Single blade. Let's see what we got. Ooh. That's excellent. Look at that. Drop point blade. You've got that Rosecraft swedge on top. The nail nick runs more than halfway over the top, making it easy to deploy. And that actually feels really good. And I love the fact that all their knives have a great tension here, so you're not going to close them on your hands, and they got that great half stop that I don't even fear putting my hand there and just, that is really nice. So we got to pack that up real quick just because I have to do an unboxing video of it. So, and I will tell you, if you have the chance to be part of a pass around group, if you have a channel, take advantage of that because you get to experience a lot of knives that you normally wouldn't and that you may not buy for yourself. I generally don't buy slip joint knives, but now I've been getting them from Rosecraft. So the next one up on the bill is the Ochi River Kayak in blue. So I think I actually have two of these here. This is the Ochi River Kayak in blue. And again, wrapped in its butcher paper. Oh, it came out. Oh, wow. Look at that. That is sweet. Absolutely love that. And again, got that nice click. Great sound. Look at the shape of that blade. I'm not used to Rosecraft with that. Almost a Warncliffe. Man, look at that. To quote Bees, look at it. Would you just look at it? By the way, I love Bees. He's got such a fun channel, and I love hanging out on Fridays in his lives. So let's get this out here. You notice there's some fingerprints on it, but that is sweet. So let's grab the other one because I believe this is the same knife, but in red. Hey, Ron. Me so horny. Nice, Caleb. Yeah. Same knife, but in red. That is gorgeous. And beautiful. Man, the walk and talk on these is beautiful. Look at that blade. Man, Rosecraft does such an amazing job. I really am so super impressed with them. And how I wound up getting in the pass around group with them is hey Rolf, what's up, buddy? I had done a video on, um, hey Brown Sugar, welcome in. I had done a video on Rosecraft, not for Rosecraft, but on Rosecraft's modern folders as opposed to their traditionals, and they really liked it. Andy Armstrong from Rosecraft saw it, and he liked it. He reached out to me, one, to thank me for the video, but two, to ask me if I wanted to be in the pass around group. And I said, absolutely. So that's how I wound up in the pass around group. And that's what I tell some people. I'm like, make sure these companies know about your videos. You know, let them know, show them the links, send them the link. So that way they see what you're doing and how you could possibly be a benefit to their, to their company. And that's how I wound up in the Rosecraft pass around group. And what's nice when you're in the pass around group is that there's like 12 people in this particular group, and you only pass around to 6. And when the final one comes to you in the group, you get to keep that one, which is nice. I mean, so you wind up getting a knife out of it. You get some great content. You get to experience knives that you never would, you know. So it's a really good thing. And man, I am really impressed with these. So far, I own 4 Rosecrafts of my own, but I own the modern knives. I don't own any of their traditional knives, which I will after this one, after this. And I have not been disappointed in any one that I've gotten yet. So I can honestly say I'm a big fan of what they're doing. And they've actually, with them and Big Red EDC, Big Red got me back into slip joints. Love watching his lives. I had been away from slip joint knives for a while. Douglas Cheek, excellent. I am a huge Dead Milkman fan. I saw them live I saw them live in the 80s, and they were so much fun. I saw them on a weird show. It was them. It was the first one was the big Boston Big Brass Band opened. Then it was the Dead Milkmen. And then after that, it was Two Live Crew. So they put like 3 bands of different styles together, and it was a show at the Ritz in New York City. It was a great show. Yeah, Caleb, you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it a lot, you know. But yeah, the other thing too is, like I was saying to you guys earlier, for people who got here late, I'm now working with 7 companies where I've received knives. Two in a pass around group, 5 sent me knives, and I have two more that I agreed to work with that they're sending me knives. Those are on the way. But how a big part of it was that I every day, or like I said, 5 to 6 days a week, I put up a one 1 minute, basically what I'm carrying each day. And a couple of the knife companies actually saw those, because what I did was I invited them to collaborate. And like Free Tiger, no, not Free Tiger. I don't remember who it was now off the top of my head, but I invited them to collaborate, and they liked those 1 minute videos so much that they offered to collaborate with me on others. So, it's kind of cool when that happens, and took me by surprise. I didn't think anybody noticed my little channel, And by the way, as of yesterday, last week I passed 1,000 subscribers. This week I passed 1,100 subscribers. Did that yesterday. So I'm averaging about 140 new subscribers a month. So yeah, I saw those Hate Nate. Those exclusives are really good. Thanks, Brown Sugar. I appreciate it. Those are really, and great pricing. Thanks, Caleb. And Caleb, congratulations on the Tuesday time slot for your lives. That's going to be cool. So, in fact, I'm gonna reach out to you about something. I got something I want to talk to you about. I'll hit you up on Instagram about that. But yeah, I think those exclusives were really nice looking, and man, that pricing is just great. And like, I look at it this way: you could get a case knife for the same price as a Rosecraft, and I've noticed and I've heard, mostly from Big Red EDC, but it's from some other people too, that the case knives quality has gone really downhill. So if you don't mind the fact that the Rosecraft aren't being made here, that they're being made in China, but they're still designed here, and they're an American company, Rosecraft, but they're building them overseas. If you don't mind that, it's a much better value than buying a case. Thanks, Rolf. And I'm so glad so many you people are here that have been fans of the channel right from when I switched over to EDC and EDC and knives. So many of you guys, Mick Ranger, Hate Nate, all of you guys, Rolf, Caleb. I know Caleb, you're a little bit newer, but I mean, Brown Sugar's been here. So many of you folks have been here right from when I started doing this back in September. I appreciate it so much. You don't know. I really, and I'm having fun growing because a lot of you guys, your channels are growing. Caleb, your channel is growing. Barbie's channel is growing. Hopefully we'll get Barbie up to 500 subs soon. And by the way, if anybody wants to, feel free to post your links. I have no problems with that. I have the subscribers. What I don't have is the watch hours, which is why I'm doing the lives to get the watch hours up, because I can't understand. And all right, I shouldn't say I don't understand. I get how the algorithms work as far as videos hitting and missing. But what I don't understand is I have some videos that have over 10,000 views, and then I have other videos that I can't get 100 views on. And it makes no sense to me. No problem, Rolf. I know it's kind of late. It just doesn't make sense to me because it's the same kind of content. Why are some videos hitting hard and others don't? And, I use like TubeBuddy and I use vidIQ, and they all get the same kind of scores. Like I'm hitting on what's supposed to be happening on all the SEO and everything else, and yet some take off, some don't. I don't get it. I just can't explain it. Someday, hopefully, I will. What I was thinking about, Caleb, is possibly setting up a Patreon. I know Metal Complex actually does more of his stuff. Mind you, he's got, almost 800,000 subscribers. I'm not comparing it, but he does a lot through Patreon. And I know I follow, like in the motorcycle industry, I follow people, I'm a Patreon of certain people, and same thing in the guitar industry, No chosen one. If I had farted, I'd announce it proudly. I have no shame in my game. So, yeah, I was thinking about doing a Patreon. And then what I can do is I could do obviously my normal videos, because like I said, I try to do a 60-second upload of what I'm carrying 5 to 6 days a week. I'm doing the live once a week, and I do 2 full-length videos that are coming out usually Monday and Friday, or Monday and Thursday, depending on what my scheduling looks like. But I can do like exclusive videos on there, Oh yeah, I'm not going to go. Yeah, Frank, I'm not going to be, making everything membership exclusive or anything. If I get to that point where I have memberships, that'll be cool. I'm really happy with the way the channel's going and what the people who are here, but it's cool. Like we have a small group of loyal people in our knife community, and I know there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in the knife community, but we have a nice group that we all follow the same channels. We're all interacting with each other, so it's a lot of fun. It's good to have, and I consider all the regulars friends, and anybody who wants to be a friend, keep stopping by. Most of us, we're all friends out, on Instagram. I noticed, I think almost all of us, who do this, we're all in this community, we're all friends on Instagram, and we communicate that way as well. A lot of us are in the same Facebook groups. A Simple Happy Life, that's a cool name. I like it. I like that name a lot. Hello there. By the way, I picked up this the other day because I really something I like. It's a sticker, and it says, "I hope something good happens to you today." And I really do. No reason to be bitter, no reason to be mean. Let's all just hope everything good happens to us. I know it sounds kind of mushy, but it's just the way I feel about things lately. Once I hit a certain age, I started to appreciate things a lot more than I did when I was younger. When I was younger, I was a very bitter person. Now I'm a pretty happy person all the time. So, you want to see something really fun? This stuffed dog is robotic, and you turn it on, and he walks, and he barks. A friend gave that to me. She bought it for her kids, and their kids didn't like it. So I said, give it to me. And the reason why I got this is to put down to chase my cat around. I put it down. My cat just stares at it and looks at it really angrily. And then when it starts to move towards my cat jumps back. And I figured my cat would smack it around, but she wants nothing to do with this. So I think it's adorable. You know, you never know with a cat what they're going to like and what they don't. My cat has so many damn toys, and she plays with them on and off. You don't know which one she's going to play with on any particular day. And then we were cleaning up the house the other day, so we took all her toys, and she's got to have like 20 something toys. We put them in a box, and she stood there looking at the box like, why are you doing this? Hey, Cannon, what's going on? And we were like, well, take the one you want out of there. And the cat's just kind of looking. So we take a couple out, put them on the ground, and then she gave us a look like even worse, like those aren't the ones I want. So we've been gradually pulling all the toys back out of the box. Of course, Caleb, an empty box. Every time I get something from Amazon, it's like Christmas for my cat. Because I take the box, I fold it so that she can climb in it. I put it down, and it stays there for a week until a new box comes. You know, cats just love boxes, and for some reason, my cat likes boxes that are smaller than she can fit in. Yeah, I don't. I think it's because when they're sleeping, they like to hide out in the wild for safety. Yeah, cats just love boxes. There's no way, no way that any toy will entertain them as much as a box. So, you know, Marcelo Cordiaro Santos. I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know what you said there. But welcome aboard. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. But I don't speak Spanish. I'm sorry. So, is anybody excited about baseball being back, or is it just me? Thank you, Simple Happy Life. I like it. It drives some people nuts, and you know, just me, Cruz. Nobody else likes baseball, really? Am I the only one? I know me and my wife love baseball. You can play nice, Caleb. Caleb, I played at a pretty high level. I actually got scouted by the Astros, or I should say not scouted. Scouted, but I had a tryout too, and I didn't make it. But you know, it is trippy, Burnt, really. You know, there's also a disco ball hanging over there too. That if I had a way to mount it, it would actually kind of be cool to have that there. We could pretend it's Saturday Night Fever. Yeah, I like a lot of people ask me. They're like, "Oh, did you see this TV show, that TV show?" And I'm like, generally no, because I watch sports. I watch sports, pro wrestling, and documentaries. That's kind of what I do, and tons of YouTube. Probably more knife tube content than anything else. Knife tube and EDC content. That also outdoor bushcrafting, camping stuff because that's the stuff I love. I think the Mets will be all right this year. Caleb, that's kind of what happened to me. I gave up playing baseball to play hockey. Hockey's my favorite sport. You know, I was actually a multi sport athlete in high school. I played football. I played baseball, played hockey. So the only thing I didn't play was basketball, and that's because my dad was a basketball coach, and I kind of rebelled against that. I even did a half a season, 1 season of wrestling. Nah, I don't hate the Red Sox, Nate. Not at all. In fact, I like the Red Sox because they beat the Yankees, and anybody who beats the Yankees makes me happy. So, Simple Happy Life. Thanks for being here, and hopefully you subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, but Caleb, don't forget what they said in the movie Youngblood. Hockey, the last sport for middle-sized white boys, which I always thought was a funny line. But and hope nobody takes offense to that. It's a funny line from a movie. But so is anybody thinking about going to any of the knife shows here in the Northeast? I don't know where everybody lives. I know Rolf, you're in North Carolina. I know Mick, you're out on the West Coast, but I'm looking at. Gotcha, Mick. Gotcha. I'm looking to go to the Lehigh Valley Knife Show. That's in April. Well, almost here now. We're almost at April, starting Tuesday. We're right there. And then in August, there's the New York Custom Knife Show that I want to go to. I don't think Blade Show Atlanta is in the cards. I thought it might be because a company did ask me possibly if I wanted to go there and work their table. I just don't think it's in the cards. It's going to cost me too much money to do, and I don't. I have money I want to use for other things at this moment in time. Possibly next year. Yeah. See, if I was gonna go to Blade Show Atlanta, one, I'd either drive down, or I'd want to go down by Amtrak and take the train because I still want to take a long train trip. I'm fascinated with trains ever since I was a kid. I do. Me and my wife, we go on a lot of excursion train tours and whatnot, but I would really take a long trip on Amtrak because just to see what it's like. I've never taken a long trip like that, so and I don't feel like dealing with the airports and stuff. Yeah, for you that's not bad. It's 4 hours. For me, it's probably like 18 hours. Nice, nice, Caleb. So, Caleb, you must have been playing at a very high level, you know, because you don't get offered a contract unless you're playing at a high level. Caleb, you should go to that show. I know Fred the Lug is going to be at that show. I might want to meet up with him because it'd be really great to meet some of you guys in person, some of you gals as well. Brown Sugar, I know that's not far from you either because you're in New Jersey like I am. So getting to Allentown, PA is not a long ride at all. Hour and a half, maybe, depending on where you are in New Jersey. I know for me, it's like an hour and a half. Not too bad. Yeah, that's where I saw it. Yeah, I've never been, Neil. By the way, hello. I didn't realize you were here. I, well, thanks for being here. Blooper team song request. If you're gonna say song request, can you play Freebird? I know I can, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, not too far. I'd like a bunch of us to go, even to the New York Custom Knife Show because that's actually in New Jersey. It's in Jersey City. That would be a fun one for everybody in the Northeast to kind of meet up at. You know, um, Obviously with the custom show, you're going to have exactly that. You can have more custom makers than some of the big companies there. But Blooper Team, I probably could. And Pentagram's actually a really good band. So, Wise Up 786. Ride Like the Wind by Christopher Cross. Not bad. Well, go enjoy those tacos. Oh, yeah. I'm a big metalhead. Absolutely. Geez. One of the first, like the first three bands I ever listened to growing up were Kiss, Black Sabbath, and Zeppelin. And of course, that led to everything heavier as we went forward. And then I went through the whole thrash movement, um, and then death metal, like every form of metal I've listened to, you know. But I also listen because I'm a guitar player. I listen to everything. I love Motown, that sound. I can honestly say I have a well balanced love of music. I've listened to jazz. Clowncore is kind of cool. So is dwarf metal. Um, which if you like bands singing about Dungeons and Dragons type of themes, dwarf metal is right there. It's awesome. ZZ Top, early ZZ Top is really awesome. They kind of got cheesy in the '80s, which is what most people know them for. But you know, man, I love White Zombie, and I love Rob Zombie as well. But I really like the first two White Zombie albums. You know, and I actually talked to Sean Yasalt um, on Instagram. She was the bassist for them. She's really cool. But White Zombie was really superior, Seth. Absolutely. You know, saw them a few times. You know, man, ACDC is another one of the early bands that I listened to back in the '80s, early '80s. Jumped onto that bandwagon. Iron Maiden. Listening to all of it. But like I said, I listen to the only thing I really don't listen to, and I don't think it's bad. I just don't listen to it. Is country music, and I know a lot of it. I just don't necessarily listen to it. Oh yeah, Viking metal's awesome, and also the new genre, the newest genre. I want to say newest. It's probably not new anymore, but pirate metal bands like Ailstorm are fantastic. You know, um, so many like great, great genres. But that also creates a problem because as music evolved, at one time, like people say, "Oh, well, the Beatles had this many hits, the Rolling Stones had this many hits." Well, there weren't that many genres to listen to, so you were listening to everything, and you're getting a good cross section back in the '60s and early '70s because there weren't that many genres, so everything wasn't as um, split and divided. I mean, rap didn't exist back then, so these other genres didn't exist. So what happens is everybody eventually, as everything splits off and you get all these genres and subgenres, everybody everybody winds up with a little bit of tribalism, thinking that what they listen to is the best and what everything else out there stinks. When the reality is it's all good. Music is just good, you know. Doom metal, absolutely. You know, in the early days, I remember when Celtic Frost hit the scene, and they were one of the earliest death metal bands. Them, and then you had black metal, obviously created by Venom. You know, yeah. I mean, music. It's all good, and if you're a musician and you play, I find that you appreciate all kinds of music much more than people who don't necessarily play because you can pick up things and nuances that most people don't because they're not musicians. And I know it's kind of a snobbish thing, but I noticed that I listen to music different than people who don't play. They listen to music differently than I do. And I have a tendency to pick things apart not in a bad way, but I just noticed little nuances that maybe I wouldn't notice if I didn't have the ear for it. You know, Oak Ridge Boys, Elvira. Yep, huge song in its day. It's funny. I work with a guy who is an amazing bass player, and he played with Kool and the Gang back in the 70s and the 80s. He's an older guy in his, I want to say, mid 60s now. And guy's just a phenomenal bass player. And what's great is like he grew up playing funk and, hip hop type of bass lines, a lot of Motown stuff. And I'll put on heavy metal for him. And he's like, that's really good stuff. And he doesn't sit there and go, oh, that's terrible. It's heavy metal. No, he hears for what it is. He hears the musicianship there. And I try to do the same thing, Not that I want to get on my horse about music, because I can talk music probably more than I can talk knives. Yeah, Caleb, I'm going to tell you something. Haven't done music I'm 54 now. Started when I was 16. You think you can. You think you can. Everybody wants to sit here and tell me how great records are and they sound better. They don't. It's a lie. When they put things on a spectrograph and analyze it, records don't have the depth of sound as digital, despite what people will tell you. They will want to sit there and tell you, oh, it's this warmth. I guarantee you, if I put on a record versus a digital recording with the best headphones in the world, okay, but you don't know which is which, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. So, it's kind of a myth that they want to project onto people. And why? Why are they doing it? I'll tell you why. A couple of reasons. One, records were dead. There's a reason why records died off and CDs killed records. And there's a reason why CDs are dead now. And everybody's doing streaming and downloading. Why? Because we have to keep repackaging the old music for these companies to make money. That's the only way they can survive. And one of the big reasons is Neil Young, going back about 15 years ago, started professing how digital sounded terrible. But what was the real reason behind it? Because at the time he bought one of the last remaining actual physical record producing companies where they actually press the records. So how does he get people to buy into that and make a profit? Tell people the other thing's bad and tell them how the thing you own is so great. And that really started the ball rolling. I remember being in the industry and when digital was first hitting, and no one questioned how better it sounded at that point. No one. It's only now, years later, in retrospect, people are like, oh, records sound better. Yeah, the staticking popping sounds better? No, not at all. And records don't have as wide a range, okay, as digital does. Digital can pick up things that records can't produce. It's a wider sound, Yeah, Neil, I mean, there's nothing wrong, because one thing I do like about records better than digital is that I love having the big jackets that you can open and you can look at the liner notes and read. That's the thing I miss about digital. You know, that is the thing that really I miss. I miss having those big records. And I used to get frames and hang them on the wall. I had a bunch of them on the wall at one time, you know. Yeah, I didn't go there either, to be honest. I would have liked to have gone to Woodstock 94, but there were a lot of bands there that I liked that I would have loved to have seen, you know. But I've seen so many bands over the years. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a club called Lemoore in Brooklyn. Lemoore used to be known as the rock capital of the world because every band would play there. And when they were coming up, when they were on their way down, and a lot of bands even played there under different names. So, yeah, Mick, I mean, every band went through there. And I lived probably a 10-minute walk from there growing up in Brooklyn. And I was at shows every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. From the time I was 16 up until my late 20s, I was at shows watching bands all the time. I even got to play there once, with my band. So it was, I remember Iron Maiden playing there. Iron Maiden, when they were on one of their biggest tours at the time, they played there under Charlotte and the Harlots, so that way they could hide who they were, you know. But yeah, and I saw Kiss there. Kiss did a club tour there right before the Revenge tour, because they had just had Eric Singer join the band, and they were doing a small warm up tour. I mean, I saw Kiss as close as I am to my phone right now. No exaggeration. I could reach up and actually touch Gene Simmons' leg. That's how close I was. For me being a diehard Kiss fan, that was the hugest things. Oh yeah, CBGB's was legendary. I mean, it was a dive and filthy, but that was a place. That's a place you went if you wanted to see up and coming bands. Excuse me. That's a great. That Boston album is amazing, and what most people don't realize, they look at the cover and think those are UFOs, but if you look at them very carefully, they're actually guitars. They're acoustic guitars turned upside down. So, which not a lot of people noticed. You know. Have a great night, Rolf. I appreciate you being here, brother. You're awesome. And tell good night to Barbie. She's probably asleep, but anyway. Yeah, Caleb, I know that one well. Um, Unfortunately, both my parents passed away years ago. All my grandparents are gone, and I'm an only child, so I don't have, I have my wife's family, but I don't have any of my family to talk to. So I get that totally, you know. So I kind of feel like at times I'm alone in the world, But I have my wife, and I have my wife's family, and I have some really good friends who I embrace and love. But yeah, my family's all gone. I am the last of the dinosaurs, so to speak. I have one cousin who is still alive. She's in, well, I should say, I have a lot of cousins, but only one cousin that I'm close with, and she lives down in Georgia. You know, the reason why I say I have a lot of cousins is because on my uncle Nick, he had 13 kids, and each one of those kids had, I don't know how many kids. I think they averaged about 3 kids each. I have like 144 cousins from that side of the family alone, but I very rarely interact with them. I interact with like 3 or 4 of them. You know. Oh yeah, this is that. A lot of people in the knife community play music. You know, and some people in the knife community just play kazoo. Looking right at you, Rob's Nerdy Knives. And which, by the way, I love his channel. He's a lot of fun. Those Monday night streams, the kazoo drives me nuts, but I wouldn't want it any other way. It's nuts in a good way. I love when he's getting close to the giveaways and people give him the super chats, and he has to go through the whole, kazoo salute. Then you think you're about to go through the giveaway again, and boom, you wind up another super chat, and he has to do another kazoo, salute, and he starts at like, say, like, I don't know, he gets to like 9:30, and next thing you know, he's just about giving the giveaway at like 11 o'clock because everybody kept interrupting him with super chats. You know, yeah, Caleb, that had to be rough. I get it totally. You know, I don't drink anymore. When I was younger, I did. I did a lot of drinking back in the day. I wouldn't say I ever had a problem, but I did a lot of drinking. So I mean, there would be nights I remember getting paid on a Friday, going to the bar and spending easily $200-300 at a bar. Because I was buying drinks for everybody around me and having a good time. Those days are long gone. Like I said, I think I was mentioning it um, in Barbie's live stream. I was telling Rolf, when I hit 50 is when I think I've really become the happiest in my life. You know, I stopped stressing about all the little things, and I just realized that it's a pleasure just to wake up every day, and it's a privilege to wake up every day because not everybody does. So I just try to keep a positive outlook on it. You know, And everybody's got their struggles and everybody's got hard times. There are times where I get depressed and whatnot, but for the most part, I try to keep a positive attitude about things. And I try not to really stress, you know. Um, but yeah, I know it could be rough when you're a kid and you have that kind of, you don't have that stable home. That's why it's good to see, you're married now with a kid and you're doing your best at this point and, you turned it all around. So that's kind of cool. A lot of credit there because there are a lot of people who, when they don't have that great upbringing, they fall off, you know. So take that for what it's worth. You know, it's a good thing what you've done. You're starting a new music style, Transylvania soft metal. So I'm guessing it's played really slow and lackadaisical, huh? Excuse me. That made me laugh. Dragoon, hello there, buddy. How are you? Well, that's the whole thing, Caleb. You learned from it, you moved on from it, and it made you stronger. And what's great now is that I guarantee you're going to be there for your kid. You know, you're not gonna fail that kid because of what you went through. That's what's really key. A quitter in a good way, Dragoon. Quitter in a good way. So, excuse me. All right, so there's still 12 of us hanging out. I'm feeling good, so I'm not ready to go anywhere yet. And we appreciate everybody being here. We've got 27 likes. So, oh, good for you, Dragoon. That's really good. Slow, low, loud, and heavy. Yep, yep. I once dated a girl like that, Neil. She was slow, low, loud, and heavy. No, just kidding. But, but yeah. So, excuse me. So, what else have you guys been carrying? Let's get back to some knife talk here. Let's go up, bring up the conversation a little bit. You know. No, I don't know about you, but usually the people who work the door at Walmart around here are usually like people in their 80s, usually older people. you know, but yeah, that's usually people in Walmart around here. Oh, the smock is such a nice knife. I would love to get my hands on one of those, but like I said, I have 4 Spydercos already, and I don't think I want to keep going. Not because I dislike Spider. I love my Spydercos, especially my Manix 2. That's actually probably my favorite knife. But I like to experience other companies. I try not to get too many of one company, although I seem to have more Kaisers than anything else. Because for some reason, Kaiser just drops stuff that I really like all the time. You know, I think most companies I have like 3 or 4 of their knives. When it comes to Kaiser, I think I have like 10 or something like that, maybe even more. I just really love what Kaiser does. I think they make such a good quality knife at really good prices too. Oh man, I need to get my hands on a Devo. The Growler's nice, you know. The Tall Boy looks really good, but they sell out every. They seem to whenever they do a release, have the release time to when I have no money to spend. So, oh, welcome from Russia. I appreciate that. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. So you might be the furthest person. No, well, maybe Gareth. He's in South Africa. He's been here, so the two of you are probably the furthest away from where I am. But oh, that would be cool, Caleb. Yeah, it's like every time Devo has a drop, I'm broke, so I can't get one of their knives. And then by the time I have the money for it, they're sold out. Well, I mean, what did this last one sold out in 10 minutes, right? If I remember right, the one they dropped at White Mountain last week, or was it last Friday or the Friday before? I mean, that thing sold out literally in 10 minutes. It was gone, you know. And it's hard for these companies too, these smaller companies, because they don't know how well these things are going to sell. So they produce them in a small amount, and you know, they produce them in a small amount, not knowing what they're going to sell. So, you know, oh, that would be cool, Dragoon. Absolutely. I mean, right now I'm a little backed up on videos I have to shoot because of this collaborations I'm doing. And I have a video coming out tomorrow, and then I think at this point, 7 more videos already recorded and ready to drop. But I will definitely reach out to you on that, 100%. You know, Dragoni, I don't know. Am I connected with you on Instagram at all or Facebook? Because that way I can message you or whatever, and we'll go from there. Definitely, you know. But yeah, I just, but yeah, I just for some reason not only them, there are a few companies whose drops always seem to me when I have no money. You know, so I've noticed I find myself doing a lot more of reviews on budget knives because I need content and I don't want to spend a lot of money. So I was doing, a lot of stuff in the budget realm, but I do have some other more expensive stuff where videos are coming out, that sort of thing. Let's see what else. Gotcha, gotcha. So that's the other reason why I don't want to go to Blade Show Atlanta, because I could go to the show, right? I could afford going down to the show, but I don't want to come home spending every dime I've ever had because I see every knife ever that, there. Because, I mean, you're going to see stuff you just want to love and you can't buy it all, you know? Oh, Neil, I, I, I'll show you pedal boards. Hold on. While we're, okay. This is pedal board. This is one. This is a mini pedal. This is one. So this is a mini pedal board that I have. I have, no exaggeration, like 9 different pedal boards, all for different types of music that I play. And I own well over 100 and something pedals. But yeah, this is a fun pedal board. A JHS fuzz right there, tube screamer, MXR Phase 90. This is I forget the company on this one, but this is a budget spring reverb that actually sounds really good. And then I have a more guitar synth here, and I've got, like I said, lots and lots of pedals. But I've been doing this a long time. Over years I've accumulated tons. Oh no. From when I was playing on a serious level, I had a rack system. You know, so I had a whole rack system, and I have that in storage right now because I just don't have room for it in my place where I am. I actually have a lot of music gear in storage. I have a 24 track mixing board that's in storage. I have 2 4x12 cabinets that are in storage. Just a lot of music gear that's still in storage that once we buy a bigger place, then I'm going to move it. Oh, no, Roger, those are not. But there are plenty of Olites around. I mean, in front of me right now, I probably have, I don't know, 4, maybe? Yeah, I've got Olites everywhere. I am a big fan of Olite. So, huge fan of Olite. Oh, okay. Nice, Caleb. So, yeah. I don't know. I was, over the years, too, I was always chasing that sound. You try and chase, you chase and you chase and you chase, and you never nail the sound you want. But that's because I didn't learn how to use the gear I had. When I couldn't tune in the gear, dial in the gear that I had, I would try to go out and get a new piece of gear to make it sound what I heard in my head. And it doesn't really work that way. The only thing you wind up doing is spending way too much money that way. And I've learned now to really dial in what I own, you know, that sort of thing. In fact, I have friends who will call me because I am not a great player by any means. I'm a very average player, but I can get great sounds. So, Hate Nate, what I have is a B52 triple rec, um, which is basically a clone of the Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. And the B52, they have company went out. Well, I don't know if they're out of business or not because their website site is active, but I haven't seen them release gear in years. But they released, like I said, their version of a triple rectifier, and it is amazing, you know. But the one thing about it is it's a one trick pony. You're only going to play metal with it, you know. You're not going to play, surf rock or classic style rock with it. You're going to play metal, but that's what it's made for, and it's amazing. Same thing. Like I have a Marshall 8100 valve state head, and if anybody knows that amp, it is a one that's very sought after, especially in the black metal, death metal community. You get that real chainsaw sound from it that people really love, but it's not a versatile amp, not at all. You know, when I play like surf rock, I have a 66 Fender Bandmaster that I use, all tube. You get that classic surf rock sound. You can get that classic rock sound out of it. You're not going to play metal with that unless you seriously putting pedals in front of it, you know. But yeah, yeah. But if you love metal, geez, you know, nice, nice. And see, that's a very versatile amp, Neil. You know, I mean, back then too, chorus was really in. A lot of people don't use chorus as much anymore. You know, I still do. I have chorus on my main board. There's a chorus, a digital delay on one of my main boards that always lives there. You know, what's amazing? You can buy these little tabletop amps now. Like I have a Spark Micro, and you can control it with the app, and you can basically put in any sound you're looking for, and it does a really reasonable job of sounding like that. You know, and it's this friggin' big. And now um, they make I think it's like a 4x10 powered cabinet that you could play through, and it's like 100 watts, and it's loud as hell, and you're running it off this tiny little head like this big, which I have one over here too. You know, this is made by Positive Grid. I can get just about every sound out of this that I ever wanted, you know, and it's amazing. You can just dial it with the amp. Well, have a good night, McRanger. I appreciate being here. Yeah, I mean, the technology is ridiculous. And this tiny little speaker sounds amazing, and it sounds loud. It's only like 3 or 4 watts, you know, but you run this through into a larger amp. You can use it as as an effects unit, multi effects unit if you wanted to. For practicing in home, this is great. If you were recording, you mic this thing up and you couldn't tell it wasn't a larger cabinet. So, you know, it's insane what they can do. Like I said, and with the amp, you can download like obviously I'm a fan of a lot of different guitarists, but there was a sound I was looking for that I couldn't dial in. And I was just like, well, let me see if they have it. I went to their sound library, and people had already uploaded the patches for that sound, and it was fantastic. Like, this is great, you know? So, yeah. The one thing I will say, though, is I don't like to play cover songs. I kind of like, right from the beginning, I've always enjoyed writing my own music more than playing cover songs. I've never, yeah, it's good. That's how you learn, by playing cover songs, but I've never been in a cover band. I think that's not true. My first band was a cover band, and we did a battle of the bands where we could barely play at that point. I think we were like 17 years old, and we did a battle of the bands, and I couldn't even solo at that point. So we had a friend who was a really amazing guitarist, and he just jumped up on stage, and I basically passed, when it came time for the solo, I passed off my guitar to him so he could do the solo, you know. And in fact, most of the time we never even played guitar solos. We played songs that didn't have guitar solos because, like I said, I was 17. I had just literally only been playing like about 6 months at that point, and we had a drummer who was amazing, way too good to be in our band, and actually he left us because of that reason. But we were always good friends, and he would do a big drum solo in the middle because I couldn't do the guitar solos. So it was that simple. And even today, I prefer to play rhythm than playing lead, although I can play lead, but I prefer playing rhythm. It's just, for me, a lot more fun. Yeah, yep. Back in the day, we used to refer to those as mosh part, more than breakdowns. You go into that little heavy mosh part so people really spin around in the pit and, you know, throw elbows and knuckles and all that good fun stuff. But speaking of get in the pit, I see Fight is touring, but they have a different singer. It's not Rob Halford. And I saw a video of them playing, and the guy sounds just like Rob Halford. You know? Stupid song. Oh, really? Huh. Had no idea. Had no idea. Not that I'm the biggest Little Wayne fan or the biggest fan of rap, although I do listen to a good amount of it, you know. But I don't go deep. I don't go deep. So, old school rap. Oh, absolutely. You know, being the age I am, I remember very early rap, you know. I remember in the late 70s. I mean, I was just a little kid, but I remember it all, you know. The emo fruity song. There are a lot of emo fruity songs. Let's be honest about this, you know. And that's another genre I like. Not necessarily emo, but screamo. Bands like The Used. My God, that they are such a damn good band, and they're so underrated. But emo core, you know. And I that's the other thing. I like a lot of early alternative. I like The Cure, bands like that. You know, um, you know, one of my favorite bands of all time is not necessarily, is what I would call almost an emo goth metal, and that's Typo Negative, and that's because I knew those guys. I'm still friends with Sal, the original drummer from Typo Negative, who later on joined Life of Agony. You know, but oh, really? Nice. Yeah, the Used are really, really good. You know, but yeah, being from Brooklyn, knowing the guys in Typo Negative, I just love their music. You know, just love their music. You know, and then the prior edition when yeah, but before they even Typo Negative, when they were Carnivore, I love that stuff too. You know, as way over the top and cheesy as the lyrics are at times, just great music. You know, um, we're at an hour and a half, and I'm still wide awake and ready to go. So if you guys are willing to hang out, I'm willing to stay here. But so This went from a knife show to a music show. I love it. You know, Caleb, it's really funny. When that first Linkin Park album hit, I loved it. And I never really listened to them after the first album, which I should have because they're great, you know. And I never saw them live, fortunately, you know. Although, you know, I like the fact that they're back around with the female singer because they're not trying to copy what Chester did because I don't think you can. And this girl is really good, you know, from everything I've heard. You know, I don't know her name, but she's really, really killing it from everything I've seen online. So I'd really like to check them out with her. You know, it's the same way Alice in Chains. I still love Alice in Chains, and I don't, you know, the fact that Jerry sang half the songs originally anyway, even after Lane died, they're still great, and the singer they have now is fantastic. Uh, Lane Staley, I don't know if he was a god. He had a good voice, you know, but if you look at most of their big hits, Jerry sang majority of the parts. So now you know what's funny. I never saw the original. Well, I can't say the original. I never saw the Prime Pantera lineup. You know, I did see Anthrax about a year and a half ago. Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago, and of course, Zach Wild opened for them, and they actually did a crossover section because you know Zach and Charlie are in currently in Pantera, and they actually did a couple of Pantera songs in there, so which was kind of cool. Yeah, Pantera is amazing. You know, if you just ignore the fact that they went from glam metal on their first couple of albums, you know, before he was Dimebag Darrell, he was Diamond Darrell. You know, Polyweek Apocalypse, cool name. Dig that totally. Oh, I mean, the Doors are amazing. Um, I mean, if you look at debut albums, they have one of the strongest debut albums of all time. They had so many hits on that album, and I don't think they ever matched that first album. Judas Priest does still rock, and you know what? Some people hate when I say this. Judas Priest was almost as good after Rob Halford left to form Fight when they had Ripper Owens singing because he sounded so much like Rob Halford. It was amazing that they found somebody who sounded just like that. You know, well, Rob, you know, all the older metal gods are goofballs, whether it be Ozzy, whether it be Rob at this point. You know, they 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 went from all these guys went from having this kind of scary, dark motif to now being everybody's fun, cool uncle kind of kind of vibe, including Marilyn Manson. You know, you know, for years we've seen the "Make America Great" hats again. I just want a hat that says "Make Manson Scary" again. You know. Oh yeah. Oh, I love classical music. Absolutely. It's. I mean, you put on classical music and listen to a lot of it, and a lot of it becomes the basis for what metal is, especially neoclassical style metal, like an Yngwie Malmsteen or Richie Blackmore, that kind of stuff. You know, even Randy Rhodes. So, well, I don't know if you probably well, you're talking about Marilyn Manson because actually he looks great now. He's lost the weight. He's he's sober. He's clean at this point, and he lost the weight. He looks really good again. I've seen him recently, And the new album sounds much like the older albums. It's really good. The album, I think it was released about 2 or 3 months ago now, and it is fantastic. I put that up there with any of his original albums. And Manson's one of my favorite bands of all time. You know, there was a time where I probably listened to Typo Negative and Marilyn Manson like every other day for like 4 or 5 years, type of thing. Because I love those bands so much. You know, speaking of bands, Jerry Only from the Misfits lives about 5 minutes from here. I see him around town periodically. And if you've ever met Jerry from the Misfits, he's just one of the coolest guys ever. I've met him multiple times over the years, hung out with him. John Five is an amazing guitarist. John Five is also the biggest Kiss fan on the planet. He's got an Instagram, Knights in Satan's Service, where he just shows off his Kiss collectibles. And everything he has is Kiss collectibles from the original makeup era. Stuff that is so rare, there's only one or two things made that were made or still in existence. His Kiss collection is just amazing. I'd love to tour that guy's because he's got a place where he just keeps the Kiss collection separate from his house, I believe, if I've read it right. And I would love to see that. It's like a museum to Kiss. So, oh, he is a great musician. There's so many really great guitarists out there. You know, love Rage Against the Machine. Don't always love their politics, but I love their music. You know, um, Tom Morello is just an amazing, amazing guitarist. Yeah, I'm a diehard Kiss fan. I have an altar to Kiss in my studio, which you'll see next week if you come back and when I'm shooting in the studio. But um, I get people who don't. Not everybody gets Kiss, and Kiss I think is one of those bands that that when you see them live, it's a different experience than the music on record. There is no bigger and better live show than a Kiss show. I mean, I saw the end. I saw the end of the road tour, and my God, that was the biggest stage show I've ever seen. Just phenomenal. It's not even like seeing a rock concert. It's like seeing a rock Broadway play, special effects, spectacular type of thing. It's show. It really is show. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: I don't take what any band says in their lyrics too seriously. You know, I mean, do we believe that Slayer are all Satan worshippers? Probably not. You know, love their lyrics though. Lyrics are a lot of fun. Slayer's an amazing band. You know, but yeah, I just don't take this politics too serious. And a lot of bands contradict themselves, and I'll give you a good example. And if you're old enough to remember, the first year that um, um, oh, I'm drawing a blank now. Soundgarden, first year Soundgarden, really made it big on MTV. They talked about how they were a metal band. They weren't a grunge band. They were a metal band. Exactly 1 year later, after the MTV Awards, they appeared and they're like, because metal was falling out of favor, all of a sudden, no, we were never a metal band. We were always whatchamacallit, more of a punk oriented band. We were influenced by punk. We were never influenced by metal. Really? Because a year ago, you said you were a metal band and you weren't a grunge band. So bands just contradict themselves constantly. It's what they do. Bands as they get older too, their mindset changes, the way they see things changes. How many bands have phenomenal first and second albums and then their music just drops off after that? One, most of the time it's because the material on their first and second album, they've been playing for years. They perfected it. They were playing it in front of live crowds. They know what worked, what didn't work. Now they make it big off of two albums. They go on tour. They don't have the time to write. They're forced into a schedule where they have to produce music in a certain time period, and they don't have time to work it out. You know, Ron, I was at the Monsters of Rock here in New Jersey, and on that one you had Van Halen. If I remember right, it's been a long time. Van Halen, the Scorpions, a Young Guns N' Roses, and I want to say Aerosmith. I don't remember exactly. It's been a long time. I've been to so many shows, but yeah, the Monsters of Rock Festival here was never what it was in Europe. I like Shinedown. I like them a lot. You know, some dude. I don't think it did. I don't think music took a nosedive. There's still so much great music out there, but it's not being spoon fed to us anymore. You have to go out and find it. You know, I'm finding new bands all the time. I refuse to be like my dad. My dad was a drummer. My dad at times jammed with Ted Nugent, and he from the 60s all the way up until the early 90s, he constantly evolved in his what he liked musically. Then all of a sudden there was a day in the 90s where my dad just said, "Nope, I'm not listening to anything new anymore. I'm just listening to everything that's old." And I don't want to be that way, and I still find new music. Yes, I am. Oh no, the New Jersey accent's horrible. I don't have a New Jersey accent because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So I have a kind of mixed accent. You know, I don't sound as Brooklyn as I should, which is a pretty good thing. We Neil from Meadowless concerts, we'd probably be here for hours. I mean, yeah, I'm not exaggerating about that. We'd be here for hours. I spent a large part of my from age 16 up until about age 30, going to concerts like every other week, especially being in New York City at the time. It was so easy just to go into Manhattan to see shows or go into Brooklyn to the clubs there and go to Queens. No effects. Okay, I'm very torn on no effects. Like I like them musically, but I can't stand his vocals because they're very cartoony and he doesn't speak that way. The way he sings, it's so cartoony it annoys me, you know. Well, that's the thing. So many of those bands are way past their prime now. I've seen a lot of bands that are past their prime. And then there are other bands who are kind of past their prime but still put on a great show, like Def Leppard. Yes, I have seen Celtic Frost live. I saw them, oh, um, unfortunately, after after they decided to go into their glam rock phase on the Cold Lake or yeah, Cold Lake album. I never saw them in the death metal phase. You know, they tried to do that. And Morbid Tales is one of my favorite albums of all time. Love Celtic Frost, but oh yeah, really? So Lilith, where are you located? Ron, because of my job, I get tickets to Bethel Woods, the former home of Woodstock, and I've already got Def Leppard. I've got Weird Al Yankovic coming. I've got The Offspring this summer, and Cindy Lauper because this is Cindy Lauper's last tour, and having grown up in that era, and my wife's a big fan as well. You know, I definitely have to go see her because she's still putting on a great show. Want to see the Offsprings? I've never seen them live. Steel Panther is funny as hell. I still go to concerts. I absolutely love them. Um, Saw a bunch of great shows last year, but one of them that I loved was Elvis Costello, and he opened up for Daryl Hall from Hall and Oates, and Daryl Hall did all the Hall and Oates songs. It was really cool, you know. Oh, absolutely. Alice in Chains is more heavy metal than grunge. There are a lot of bands that get lumped into grunge that really weren't grunge, you know. So it was the thing to do at the time. And then you have bands that were kind of lumped into that grunge thing that that were kind of predecessors of it, like Dinosaur Jr. I mean, Dinosaur Jr. is more shoegaze than grunge any day of the week, but they'll throw them in there. The Melvins are more metal and then grunge, but they kind of throw them in there as well. And I've never seen it that way. Mm. I saw Deicide at a show that was probably the most violent show. No, no, I'm sorry. It was Cannibal Corpse. I saw Cannibal Corpse at one of the most violent shows I've ever seen. They actually stopped the show like 3 or 4 times because the pit got so violent and people were getting hurt. And they finally made an announcement that if they had to stop it one more time, the show was over to keep the crowd from going nuts. You know, Credence is good, but the problem with Credence is every song sounds the same. And if you like that song, that's good. Green Jello is a fun band, and what most people don't realize is that Maynard from Tool was in Green Jello. So we have been talking music now. Like we lost Knives like an hour ago at this point. So this is kind of cool because like I said, I could sit and talk music all day long with everybody. You know. Oh, it's a great song, and I don't. I think they're a great band, but every song does sound the same. You know. What are knives? I don't know. Knives are something that are on the table in front of me, but then again, there's guitars and you know. Well, back in the day, yeah, being in the pit, you bounced off people, you felt it the next day. It was like going a 12 round fight, you know. But I don't think I could do that anymore. I prefer concerts now where I just sit in seats. I envy the kids who still get up there and jump in the pit. That's not for me at this point. I'm at the age where it just hurts to get out of bed. Nice. Polywog Apocalypse. That's really funny because one of the first earliest Beastie Boys punk rock albums before they were rap was Polywog Stew. A lot of people forget that the Beastie Boys started out as a punk hardcore band long before they ever decided to rap. I don't know, man. I everything started to hurt once I hit my 40s. You know, a lot has to do with I was really out of shape back then. I'm getting back into shape. I lost 110 pounds, so things don't hurt as much as they used to. So, but yeah, although my back is a mess today because I had a blowout in my car. Man, it was so hard to get the lugs off my tires and get that thing, um, jacked up and get the tire changed. I wanted thrown out my back, hurting my wrist because I banged it on something. But I'll live. Lilith, yes, I agree, and some dude, yes, it does. You know, I wouldn't say everything goes downhill. Mentally, I'm better than ever. You know, um, because I find the shit you worried about when you were younger, you just don't worry about when you get a little older. Just none of it's none. You realize none of that's important. You know, I don't care what people think if I don't have the latest jacket or the latest shoes like I worried about when I was a kid and stressed over it. You know, I wasn't part of the clique, so to speak. You know, um, now I just don't care. Yeah, you do lose your ego. You're absolutely right. You know, I was mentioning this to my wife the other day. I was like, you know, I'm going to be 54 this year. I still feel like I could fight and kick someone's ass, but I have no evidence of that whatsoever. I haven't had a real fight, Jesus, since probably my early 20s. So there's no evidence to support the fact that I could probably still fight, other than the fact that mentally I think I can. You know, and I have done a little bit of training, but there's no evidence to say I could fight anyone, which is why at this point it's just easier to walk away and safer. Oh yes, that yeah. From overdoing it, some dude when I was younger, I blew out my knees because I would get on the leg press machine and I would do it at maximum capacity because one, I could, and I'd like to show off. And now I realize that was the bad thing to do. You know? Yeah, Ronnie. Like you just feel like I know if I had to defend myself or my wife mentally, I think I can do it. The reality is I don't know if I can. You know, but mentally I think I have better training now than I ever did. But who knows? And I just prefer not to get in that situation. So also too, at this age, when you hit somebody, chances are you're getting arrested. When I was 17 and we hit somebody, we just walked away and laughed it off. And you know, most of the time, people I had fights with when I was in my teens and in my early 20s were friends, and then we beat the hell out of each other, and then 2 weeks later we'd be friends again. And most of those people I had fights with when I was younger were lifelong friends. So, you know, but now, like I said, you hit somebody now, chances are you're getting arrested. It's that simple. You know, it's the same reason why, you know, it's like, yeah, we carry weapons, but I would think long and hard before ever using them. Not worth it. Just not worth it. Well, beside people having phones with cameras, there are cameras everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's surveillance cameras. I mean, the world is full of them. New York City, there's probably not a street that doesn't have multiple cameras on it. And yet crime still happens and people still get away with things, which blows my mind. Totally blows my mind. You know, Big Brother is always, always watching. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's the other thing. Everything's a lawsuit nowadays, you know? And it's one of those things, too. Theoretically, and, having read a lot into this and knowing some people who are police officers, a lot of my friends are police officers, um, someone can get in your face. And as long as they don't hit you first and you would hit them, even though they got in your face, you're the guilty party in it. It's that simple. Yeah, see, that's the whole thing. You're better off trying to disarm them than actually being returning the aggression, unless it's a seriously life and death situation, you know. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also too, a lot depended on who you knew at the time. Like I'll give you an example. We got into a bar fight and my friend who is a former Marine and just a monstrous guy, he threw somebody through a glass window. And the police showed up, and my friend at the time was still in the Marines. And he showed them his Marine ID, and the police were like, all right, get out of here. You and your friends get out of here. And that's all that happened. you know, SC Mike, Knife Monkey, what is up? Thanks for tuning in. So, things are a lot different. Now you did that, forget it. You know, the problem is there are laws on the books for self-defense, but either way, someone, like theoretically, someone can punch you in the face, and if you were to stab them, you're actually using lethal force where they were not considered to be lethal force, even though a punch could be. And there's a chance, even though you were defending yourself, you could be the guilty party. And that's the whole thing. It's how laws get interpreted. It's really weird. It's just better off to avoid the situation, you know. Really, I didn't know about that, Caleb. That's interesting. But I know, if you guys follow Jason Hansen at all and his YouTube channel, he's a former CIA agent, and he was spelling out things that could really get you in trouble. And you think it's self-defense, but you actually wind up being the aggressor in the situation, you know? Yeah, it's just better to avoid the confrontation, you know. But problem is there are a lot of hotheads out there, and you can wind up in a situation where you have no other choice but to defend yourself. And that's when it gets scary. The whole key too is keep yourself out of situations. Yeah, absolutely. Because in a lot of states, defending your property, if you use lethal force, you're the guilty party, even though they were on your property, you know. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining in. Well, I'm going to be here a few more minutes. Like I said, I'm having a lot of fun, you know. I don't need to be looking for a situation to get into. No need. What do you want to do? Go to jail? Makes no sense. But it's almost 1. We've been here just about 2 hours now. I'm glad everybody's hanging out. It seems to be a pretty good time. We don't get a lot of people, but we get some really cool people here. In the Sticks Woodworking. Hello there. So, I think I'm going to hang out for like another 10 minutes or so and then wrap it up because I do have to get up for work tomorrow. And 7 in the morning is going to come by really quick. So, hey man, to each his own. But unless they're using deadly force on you, if you attack them, even though they're in your home, chances are you're going to be the guilty party. It's just the way the law works. You know. But everybody's got their own way of doing things. So you have a great night, Caleb. And like I said, I'm going to reach out to you on Instagram. I got to talk to you about a couple of things. I have some ideas I'd like to run by you. So, do we want to talk about knives, or do we want to go back to music? because because this talk is just, I'm not a big fan of it. Everybody just do you and have fun. You know. So who's still here? I know. Let's get a roll call. Doing well. I see Knife Monkey. How are you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well. And Guys, if you're not subscribed to SC Knife Monkey, I'm going to make you an admin so you could share your channel. Or a moderator, I should say. So, feel free to share your channel because, oh, one of my lights just died. All right, we're getting to that point where it's just getting over 2 hours. One light died. So we have until the other light goes. And then we'll be done. So these lights I have, they're rechargeable. And I don't have them plugged in. They usually give me a little bit more than 2 hours, so which is not bad. And they work pretty well actually. But Polywog, you make videos? I don't know your channel. Let me go there. Or you know what? I'm gonna add you as a mod. Polywog Apocalypse. Share your channel link. That way we can get everybody to go over there and subscribe. I like us all to come together and subscribe to each other and help each other out. Yeah, I know my beard's a little bit out of control right now. I got you. Hey, shorts work too. I like shorts. I mean, I do a combination of both, but shorts are easy to produce and they get a lot of attention. And you grow your channel by putting up shorts. I've noticed that I get more subscribers from my shorts and my live streams than I actually do for my videos. Caleb, I swear, literally, I shoot a short. It takes me 2 minutes most of the time to shoot it. I edit it down real quick and post it. I can have the whole thing done in like 5-10 minutes at most. So that's why I shoot them. And if you look at my shorts, I put a little bit of production into them. They're not just shoot without anything. I put logos in. I do all that stuff. Like if I'm like the last one on Free Tiger, the Free Tiger logo's in there. All the specs are in there. I try to do that, and I also put details, a lot of details in the description, so that way people just want to know a little bit more about it, And that, I'm not going to lie, I use AI to produce the descriptions on the shorts. So, ground fog. Ground fog. Hold on one second. Oh, there's my other light. All right. Ground fog, post that link. And let's do this. We're going to put that there for right now. Because both my lights died. So now we are using Olight to Is that going to work? That works. So we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes because, like I said, both my lights died now, and I'm sitting here by Olight. So, yeah, ground fog, please put up your link. That way people can go there. Actually, this video is sponsored by the letter J and the number 5, to quote Sesame Street. But I hope everybody's having fun. I'm enjoying this. You guys are great. Seriously great. I love this community. You guys have heard me say it a million times, but it's true. So. Yeah, everybody go hit up Ground Fog's Discord. That'd be awesome. And go, like, everybody who has a channel here, seriously, go subscribe to each other. I know most of us are subscribed to each other. But if there's a channel you see here and you're not subscribed, go and subscribe. Helps everybody out. Go subscribe to Ron. Ron's a good channel. Like Ron. Ron does a great live stream too, each weekend. So, I may wind up doing some more pop-ups, by the way. I haven't really done many pop-up live streams, but I may do more of them. I did my first live stream was actually a pop-up where I just was in the car driving and talking to people. People seem to like that one. Got a decent amount of views, but I might do some more. I don't know. It's hard during the week for me to jump on because of work and everything else, and just a lot of other stuff going on. And there's so many people who have great live streams that I don't want to, like, I don't think if I did it that I'd get a lot of people watching. That's why I go on the ungodly hour that I do Sunday nights, because I'm not really competing with any of the big shows. But all right, I'm going to wrap this up. It's 1:06. I'm running by flashlight now. All right, guys, I really do appreciate you all being here. And for the new subscribers, thank you. Hey, Dwayne, you got here right as we're wrapping up. So, but I appreciate you being here. You're a good dude, Dwayne. So, all right, guys. With that, I'm going to say goodnight. Love you all, and thanks for being here again. And until the next one, keep your blades sharp. Night, guys.